Can the European economy expect any clouds to lift after the US elections? Described by Donald Trump as the United States' first commercial foe, the EU has paid a high price for his America First policies. How much more could it have to lose from his re-election, and how much could it gain from Democrat candidate Joe Biden's victory? In the light of changing transatlantic relations, nothing can be taken for granted, tell us those we meet in this report, starting at the heart of the French vineyard. Set in between the Burgundy and Beaujolais regions, this wine-producing and trading firms sends a quarter of its exports to the American market. But business got harder a year ago, when French, German and Spanish wine exporters were hit by a new 25% tax on their exports to the United States. Preserving market shares in the US was crucial in the face of competition.
We made a decision that hit us in the wallet to lower our prices to offset the taxes applied by the United States. That's run into several €100,000. That's a lot to us. It's our profit for the year. We sell for nothing in the United States now, so we hope there'll be a way out of this, but we're not sure.
Even if the Democratic Party candidate wins the election in the United States?
Obviously, a change of president would be a good sign, but whatever happens, the situation isn't going to resolve itself in the short term.
A number of other European food and drink products were targeted. Exporters are the collateral victims of a long-running battle between Airbus and its American competitor Boeing. Ruling that European subsidies to Airbus were illegal, the World Trade Organization gave Donald Trump the green light a year ago to apply punitive tariffs worth some $7.5 billion. The response came last September. The WTO authorized the EU to impose tariffs on US goods worth $4 billion in retaliation for illegal subsidies to Boeing. Donald Trump had summarized his perception of US-EU commercial relations 2 years ago.
Who's your biggest competitor, your biggest foe globally right now?
Well, I think we have a lot of foes. I think the European Union is a foe, what they do to us in trade. They've really taken advantage of us.
The statement came shortly after the European Union imposed new taxes on US steel and aluminum exports, as well as a number of iconic American products. A tit-for-tat reaction to the American tariffs imposed earlier on European steel and aluminum products.
America never surrenders.
The tug of war is not expected to lose momentum if Donald Trump wins the 3rd of November elections. If negotiations can't solve trade disputes, the European Union has promised to take action.
Our trade and investment relationship remains the largest and most important in the world. It's important to continue to engage, to continue to develop our transatlantic relation, because when EU and US works together, we can also be a force for the good in the world. But we had also been clear that when US is taking unilateral steps, EU is going to respond in a proportionate way. So we do not intend to escalate the situation, but we have to defend ourselves.
Despite Donald Trump's punitive tax policies, the European Union's trade surplus for goods with the United States has in fact consistently risen since he came into power in January 2017. So has the American goods trade deficit with the EU, reaching a peak at the end of last year. A new offensive is expected if the outgoing president wins a second term. Threats of a 25% tax on European car imports loom since European leaders announced they would impose digital service taxes on American tech giants. The plans were suspended until the end of the year, the deadline for an agreement to be found. The issue is just one of the contentious topics that are not expected to dissolve, whichever the outcome of the elections, say experts on both sides of the Atlantic. Can Europeans expect a better deal from Joe Biden than from Donald Trump?
I think the overall tone of the relations would improve dramatically under a Biden administration. But there are other issues which are going to be very, very difficult. I mean, this digital tax issue, if anything, the Democrats are more beholden to the Silicon Valley digital giants like Google and Facebook than the Republicans are. Boeing Airbus is not going to go away. And if you look at Joe Biden's platform, he has promised the most aggressive sort of buy American policy that we have ever seen out of a president. I think you're going to see a very inward looking United States.
The Democrat candidate has made clear that domestic concerns will take priority over new trade deals, but there is hope for relief on tariff wars and global cooperation.
I'm quite convinced that Joe Biden will try to work with the Europeans to salvage what can be salvaged from the WTO. And there's the bilateral relation with Europe. And there I think Biden has a sort of a free pro-trade view, and I could well see us making some progress. And certainly when it comes to climate issues and carbon border adjustment, which is also a trade issue, I think we will find some deal with Joe Biden.
Questions remain on the future of sanctions on European firms doing business with Iran, China or Russia. Joe Biden pledges to resume talks with Iran, but only once it complies with its nuclear commitments, and shares Donald Trump's concerns over European dealings with Chinese tech firms or the gas pipeline project between Russia and Germany. These and other uncertainties urge the European Union to be more unified if it wants to be strong again.
We remain open for business, open for free and fair trade, but on the other hand, we need to become more assertive in defending our interests, our values. We need to strengthen our trade defense and enforcement toolkit, and that's exactly what we are doing right now.
So I think the lesson is that the EU needs to stand up firmly for its own interests on trade. I think it's actually done that quite well in the last 4 years, which is why the Trump administration did not make as much progress on its complaints with Europe as it might have. But I think that will continue into the next 4 years, regardless of who becomes the next president.